What is up? Welcome to the NFL Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Spread Astaire, joined today by Tyler Hicks, and I brought in the man from the wagering world, my co-host on my other show, Five Star in Vegas. Five Star, how you doing today?
I'm all right, man. I'm wonderful, man. Great to be with my guy, Spreader Stan Tyler, man. Hey, man, I'm looking forward to running down this NFC South with you guys.
Yeah, Tyler, it's been a lot of fun so far. We've been giving out the little free picks as well. Another interesting division today, although I got to say, I think there's some dark horse Super Bowl candidates. I don't know if we call the Bucks dark horse still, but even New Orleans here. So maybe a little more interesting than the AFC South. What are your thoughts on this division overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tampa's the only team in this division that has the Super Bowl shot. I'm not as high on the Saints as everyone else. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
going to be a
mean,
fun one.
as for the other two teams, I mean, one of those two teams, maybe both of them's drafting quarterback next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two teams fall in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that, and I'll definitely remind me, chat, to follow up there. The Falcons just drafted a quarterback this year. Tyler thinks they might be drafting another one, but let's start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 11.5 is the win total. To go over, though, it's plus money there. 11.5 minus 140, juice to the under on Bet Online. 11.5, pretty high for a team that lost, some major components of this team, right? Antonio Brown, they lost during the season. I don't know if enough is being made about that loss personally. He was open, man. I mean, it's just a testament to how crazy this dude is. Usually people have to lose their production before they run out of the league, but that just shows you how crazy this guy is because he was still getting open on almost every play. No Gronkowski. And then I think, an unheralded one is losing the starting center already in training camp out for the year. So some questions on the line, some questions out at the skill positions. Tyler, start with you. What are your thoughts on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. They lost the center. They also lost a guard and a tackle to free agency. So they lost three key pieces on that offensive line already. We haven't seen Brady really deal with that much. Now they do lose AB. They pick up Julio. They get Godwin back from a torn ACL. They
But at
also
what
pick
point are they going to get him back, though? He won't be there week one, will he?
he might he's already
Okay.
practicing in 11 on 11 drills, and I think he's
Oh, is
already
he?
in non-contact drills.
Okay.
So he could be back maybe by week one. I'd say week 5 at the latest. They bring in Russell Gage also. They draft a tight end. So I mean, they still have a ton of weapons for Brady, but this offensive line is going to be big. If they can hold and he can get the ball out, they should still put up a ton of points. That 11.5 seems high for their win total when you look at this schedule. We'll go into that. But I mean, this team still should be around there at the end of the year. I think they make the playoffs. They could be one of those teams that sneak in as a wild card spot, but this schedule is going to be a rough gauntlet for them.
I mean, and they can also be the proverbial team that nobody wants to play, even if they don't have a great regular season, because they will have Tom Brady in the playoffs. But Five Star, one person they won't have. I mentioned all the players they lost. They also lost their coach, Bruce Arians. What are your thoughts on the Bucks and then Todd Bowles taking over?
I I feel like the Bucks aren't the team that are contending for the Super Bowl. I think it's just people going to buy the Brady brand. That's pretty much what everybody's riding. And the problem is his main guy, which is the center, is going to be missing. Man, we don't know how long. How have they ruled him out for the season yet, or
He's
what?
out for the year, as far as I know. I've been doing my handicaps
Yeah,
like he's
he's
out for the
he's
year.
And
done.
he's
Yeah.
done. And the backup just got hurt um, in training camp. I don't know if he's back on the field yet or not, but everyone knows that the biggest Achilles that Brady has, and especially now he's a year older, man, a step closer to retirement. His biggest Achilles is pass rush up the middle, and he's going to see that a lot just alone in his division. Uh, all four of the teams in the division are strong at the defensive line position, man. And I really, really think that the Bucks are going to underachieve this year. I don't think that they're going to hit the numbers that people are thinking. I'd definitely be going under on that win total. More than anything, just because Todd Bowles is running the show now. I don't like some of his in-game adjustments and his the way that he manages the clock and things like that. He has to make a lot of changes from what he did in New York for me to believe that the Bucks are a contender to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and an interesting turn of events. Bruce Arians is actually still with the team. It's not like he just left, but he's no longer the coach. some friction between him and Brady there, of course, on the way they wanted to win their offense. Now they're going to completely turn it over to Brady. Let's see what we can do. I mean, we know that betting against Tom Brady's not a good idea, but 45 years old. I mean, at some point, this has got to stop. So I'm not jumping on here and telling you to bet against him, but I'm saying I'm not as excited about betting on him as I have been in years past. Seems like a couple things. I mean, this is just where we're getting into this completely unprecedented territory, not just for a football player, but for any athlete. As far as fighting the aging process, and then, like I said, we've all talked about it. Losing some of those weapons, I think AB was a big deal for that offense, and then that offensive line could be some issues. Tyler, you took a deeper look at the schedule, though. What'd you find?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, they start the year. They go to Dallas to start the year. I think they could pick up that win. Dallas, outside of Michael Parsons, like their pass rush isn't as great as it used to be. So that should just be a shootout game. I think they could put up enough points to win that game. At New Orleans, they're going to be 1-1. They always have trouble with the Saints. Then they play Green Bay at home. I think they could win that game because I don't think Green Bay is going to be as good as they were last year either. Versus KC, does KC have the repertoire with their weapons yet by then? Probably not. I think they could steal that game also. They beat Atlanta. Then they come to Pittsburgh. I think they could beat Pittsburgh also because they're just going to give whoever plays quarterback a bunch of troubles. They'll beat Carolina. I think they'll lose their next two to Baltimore and the Rams. And then they'll steal that. Well, not steal the Seattle game, but they'll win that Seattle game before their bye week because who's not going to beat Seattle this year? Yeah. Then they go Cleveland, New Orleans, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Arizona, Carolina, Atlanta to end the year. I think they could win 5 of those 6 games, maybe get 7. The only game I think they lose is the Saints game. Because it's just this weird thing. Brady can't beat the Saints in the regular season. The only time he's beat them since he's been there was that playoff game when he knocked Breeze's career over.
Yep.
Yeah. What else you got on the Bucks, 5-star?
Not too much, man. I already it kind of segues into us talking about what he just said about the Saints. I really like the Saints plus 300. I am a Saints fan. I will admit that. So don't think that but I'm also a person that is spreading those. I'll bet against them. I'll bet against anybody. It's about, being sharp. And I'm pretty good at breaking down rosters, man, and coaching. And what I like about the Saints is first of all, is the number at plus 300. But why I say we can segue into this is because what you were saying about Brady running off Bruce Arians. Jameis Winston gets a very, very bad title put on him, like he's a turnover machine and all of these things, simply because of one bad season that he had under Bruce Arians because of his he only blocks for 5. He sends out 6 guys every time on every play. No risk and no biscuit offense, and it ended up where James threw for 5,000 yards, but he also had 30 interceptions, and no one is ever going to let him live that down. But it has more to do with the system that he was in. Last year, before he got hurt with the Saints, he was 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, protecting
5-2 win percentage as well.
Yes,
and that's what really
remember
matters.
I was telling you and Noops before the season, like you guys are going to see a complete change when he's under Sean Payton, but he still has that same OC coming back with Pete Carmichael. He's been there forever. Pete Carmichael's been running the offense with Sean Payton since, at least 10, 11 years, bro. So he's already really in depth and in tune with what Jameis's strengths are. So I think that he's going to have the same identical year as long as he can stay healthy. He got sacked too many times last year. That's what happened. He took way too many sacks in the games that he played. I think he ended up having like 11 sacks in he played like 6 games. So I guess way too many sacks, way too many hits. But roster-wise, the Saints have a much stronger roster this season, in my opinion, than the Bucks do. I know Russell Gage is a great addition for Tampa Bay. He's a big-time player. But is Brady going to have time to get him the ball? And also, how is he going to work in cohesion with the defense and the running game? Do we know exactly what we're going to get? Are we going to get for sure lights-out defense from Tampa Bay? Because we're going to need that in order for them to win the division, because it can't be like before where, like you said, when AB was there spread, they could just have a shootout and just outgun you. I don't think that Brady's going to be having the time and the protection like that. But because of his greatness, I'm sure there'll be in a lot of games that he'll bring them back into a lot of games because of the defense tires and the pass rush, gets a little bit harder to get there if they get tired at the end of the game. he'll be able to get off some completions because he's brilliant. I mean, he's the greatest quarterback we've ever seen play, so that accounts for something. But I think age does catch up this year, and I really like the Saints to win this division. As Tyler said, the Saints have owned them. The Saints have won the last 4 years. The Bucs just snuck in last year and won the division. The last 4 out of 5 years, the Saints have ran the division. And I think that Dennis Allen is going to bring the attitude they need. Is becoming the lead guy. He already was in-house, but now he gets a chance to be the guy. He already was really close with a lot of the players. They really like playing for Allen. He's a different type of brand than Sean Payton is. He's more of a youngster, likes hip hop, likes, Sean wasn't an old head. He listened to music and stuff and related to the players, but this guy's even, better at that, at relating to the players and getting along. I think this first year you're going to see a lot of joy and hard play from the Saints because they'll have the slave driver Sean Payton off of their neck. And also, don't forget, guys, that Michael Thomas is coming back and he is happy. A lot of the stuff that was going on with him as a guy who has a lot of people inside with the Saints organization was between him and Drew Brees. It had not to do too much with injuries like everyone's thinking. Like him and Drew Brees had a situation where they weren't seeing eye to eye on some political and social issues. And that's what was carrying over to the locker room. So Michael Thomas literally just didn't want to play for the Saints at the time. Now he's back. He's happy. He's healthy. With him, Olave is the best rookie. I think that's going to be coming out offensively in the class. He's a burn over the top. He's ready. So I expect a lot of big things from the Saints this year. 8.5 is the number. It's the reason it's at -130 for the over.
All right, I'm going to follow up on a couple things before we go to Tyler. First, you touched on it a bit, but I want to expand a little more. Similar to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we have a coach taking over who was a successful defensive coordinator with a pretty unimpressive stint as a head coach before. Todd Bowles with the Jets, and of course, I know Dennis Allen because he was with my Raiders. You didn't think that Bowles turned it around, but you are confident in Dennis Allen. What do you think the difference is here between Bowles and Allen, and why do you expect Allen to turn around his career trajectory, so to speak, while Bowles, you still think that he's going to be a below-average coach?
Age, that's all. When Dennis Allen was given that head coach job, he was a kid, and we've seen what happened in the past with all the other guys who've done similar things who were hired too young. They ended up and later on went on to be pretty successful coaches. It was a great learning experience, I think, for him because what was he, the youngest coach in the league when they hired him?
Yeah, that was the Al Davis's thing, right? Because he did it with Madden's and he did it with Gruden, so he was trying to. And Lane Kiffin, to a certain extent, not the same pro coach, but he's had some success in college here. So he was trying to find those young guys and really bring them in ahead of the deal. And let's be honest, half of it was because he was cheap. Because he knew if he gave a 37-year-old a job, he wasn't going to demand the same as a 50-year-old with a playoff resume. So, there you go.
Josh too. I think Josh McDaniels is going to do well with the Raiders because of his experience as a younger coach with the Broncos and his stumbles. Whereas in Todd Bowles, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I've heard nothing but great things about him from the people that I know who are in the NFL and that have been around him. He's a stand-up dude. I just think he's one of those guys that's kind of set in his ways and he has a certain approach that he's going to always use, and I don't see him getting out that approach too much, whereas I think Dennis Allen is more flexible.
And I've said it on this show so many times, the game has changed so much in the last 10 years on the way that it's officiated. Sometimes some of the stuff holds up true. You're always going to, need to stop the run to be a good defense. I mean, that's always going to be true. But a lot of things have changed, and that's because of, in my mind, for fantasy football, and they want the passing yards and they want the QBs to be these NBA-style stars. That they're over the Phil Simms and the Joe Theismanns and kind of the low-profile star quarterback. So last question for you, 5-star, before we go to Tyler. My other concern for the Saints here, same as a concern for the Bucs, right? So I'm seeing a lot of similarities between these teams. Offensive line again. You guys lost Teron Armstead. You replaced him with first-round pick Trevor Penning, who hasn't had the best reports coming out of camp. It's a rookie left tackle. I mean, Colton Miller, going back to my Raiders, sucked almost his whole first year, and now he's one of the best tackles in the league. So not saying that's, struggling in camp as a rookie at left tackle is a death sentence here, but a little cause of concern, wouldn't you say?
I think so, but if I'm hearing James Hurst, the guy that they signed out of Baltimore, is going to end up being the left tackle.
Okay. I mean, that would correlate with this guy not winning.
Trevor Penning is going to be a good player. He's kind of like the left tackle for Tennessee for the Titans. I forgot his name. I apologize. He's a
Taylor
hothead.
Lewan.
Taylor Lewin. He's a hothead. He can't control himself. He's already shown that in practice. It would be really boneheaded of the Saints to throw a rookie out there to protect James's backside right now with all of the stuff that he's going to go through. If you're fighting with your teammates, every day in practice, like he's got thrown out of like 5 straight practices where they ended up having to like ban the guy from practice for a couple of days to try to teach him a lesson. So if he's fighting like that with his teammates, imagine what he's going to do when he's got a guy on the other side that's talking about his girlfriend and his grandma and things like that. So he has to get a little bit older and show a little bit more control, but he can play. He's going to be a good player. I don't think that they're going to suffer as much on the offense because simply the continuity by them having Pete Carmichael. I think he'll be able to get them in situations. He already knows their weaknesses and they'll try to play around them. They got all of these playmakers, we aren't even speaking about Jarvis Landry. We talk about 41, you know what I mean? You got to talk about AK. Alvin Kamara is still probably the best all-around running back I want to see in the league. At least he's top 3 because of all the things that he can do and how he actually is a threat every time he touches the ball. Line blocker doesn't have too much to do when you're doing these quick screens, you're doing these slants to Michael Thomas. You know what the Saints run. They're going to continue that with Carmichael. The only difference now, they have Olave to come up the backside now so that when your safety's creeping up and looking at that slant and riding, and now Jameis Winston, who's one of the best long ball throwers in the league, can just hit back on that 5th step and let it go over the top when your safety's creeping up because you got Olave. And you also got the other speedster that they're bringing back. Deontay Harris was his last name. He changed it to something else. I forgot, but it's Deontay Harris was his name last year, going over the top, flying. So I think the Saints are going to be all right offensively. I think they'll overcome those line issues, but that definitely is their weakness that they have to work on because, as I said, Winston got hurt because of the sacks.
All right, well, let's check the opposite side of the story here. 5-star likes the over for the Saints win total, and he likes the Saints to win the division.
Spread. Don't forget the defense.
Oh, yeah. I think they have one of the best defensive lines in the league, and the continuity there with Dennis Allen. I don't think the defense is going to fall off as much. But, Tyler, you're not as high on this team. Let's hear your concerns for the Saints and why you're not jumping in on that over with 5-star.
I just feel like that number is pretty much dead on. They managed to win 9 games last year, and they patched it together once Winston got hurt. Defensive play in the NFL is a lot harder to replicate than it was, say, 10 years ago. How many of these powerhouse defenses have we seen come in one year and they look like it's like, all right, this team, they just replicate this next year. Offense picks it up. They should be a threat. The defense doesn't take a giant step back, but they take a decent step back and they just don't have the same pressure they have on the quarterbacks. They're not creating the same amount of turnovers. So I think the defense is still going to be solid. They still have impact players everywhere, but I think they do take a small step back. I still think they're top 10, but I don't think they're top 3 like they were last year. And my thing about the Sean Payton loss to the Dennis Allen is Payton was kind of known as his quarterback whisperer. How much of that was him telling Winston in the first couple games to, we're going to do this. You're not going to go crazy launching the ball. This is the guy we're looking for on this play. And he just kind of had him going through the motions to where he might go loose cannon mode again like he was in Tampa Bay if this offensive line isn't all that good. And he's running around back there, and now he's just launching the ball around. They brought in Andy Dalton as a backup. They told Taysom Hill he's basically playing tight end now. That deal's over with the quarterback spot. So if Winston does go crazy, I would not be surprised to see Andy Dalton at some point, but it's going to take Winston going crazy or getting hurt. The weapons are there for both of them. And when you look at this schedule, they probably start 5-0. They're going to beat Atlanta week 1. They're going to beat Tampa week 2. Then they're at Carolina. That's a win. They play Minnesota in London. Kirk Cousins can't play outside of 1 p.m. He sucks at 4. He sucks at 4 p.m. games and 8:30 p.m. games. What are we going to do when we take him backwards? Yeah. He's probably going to throw 4 picks in that game. Then they pick up the win against Seattle, so they're 5-0. But then they run a tough stretch of Cincinnati, Arizona, Las Vegas, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Rams, San Francisco, Tampa Bay before the bye week.
That is a gauntlet.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet.
I think the easiest team in there is Arizona or Vegas.
Yeah, and it's like I could see them losing all of those games except for the Tampa game because I think they just have Tampa's number. And then out of the bye is Atlanta, Cleveland, Philly, Carolina. They probably pick up 2 of those 3 games. So I think they fall right around that 8-9 win total again. So I'm not going to touch that number. But the one I did find I like spread, DraftKings has those specials, division total wins. So you're going to give me 2 games against Carolina, 2 games against Atlanta, 2 games against Tampa Bay. You're going to give me an over 3.5 at plus 125. I'll be on that.
Yeah, that's a great pick, Tyler. Let me rebuttal him just real quick, spread.
Yeah, take your time.
Only reason I think the defense is going to stay legit is because the main pieces are back and they're all in their prime. You got Cam Jordan still in his prime. You got Demario Davis, who's the best linebacker. And we all know it's been one similarity over the years with great defenses in the NFL that can control great offenses. It's the middle linebacker. He has to be able to go toe to toe with the quarterback as far as in checks, getting the team in the right plays, being able to confuse the offense. We have that with Demario Davis. You got 2 of the best cornerbacks playing together. You guys are going to be really surprised about Paulson Adebo. What I'm hearing from out of camp is that he's on the way to maybe being an all-pro. And he's the second corner. The main corner is Marshawn Lattimore. You know, guys, he's the most underrated cornerback in the league. Like Mike Evans hates him, doesn't even want to see him because he probably has his lowest. It's no doubt he has his lowest stats in the NFL when he matches up against him head to head. And then we were injured last year on the line too. That's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. You got all these pass rushers. You know, they have nothing but 5 years straight of first round, second round defensive linemen. All of them were hurt last year. Davenport's coming back. Shatoto's coming back. I just expect a lot out this team. Onyemedi's coming back. So I just expect a lot out the defense, where I feel like defense travels. Defense, will keep you in every game. So with that, as long as the offense does what it's supposed to do, they'll be okay. And as far as as you said, Sean Payton was the quarterback whisperer, but you do have Pete Carmichael coming back. But did you know they hired Ronald Curry? Do you guys remember Ronald Curry?
Mm-mm.
They used to play basketball and football in North Carolina.
Mm-mm.
The name rings a bell.
Ronald Curry was the number 1 recruit in the early 90s out of North Carolina. He was the first team quarterback for the state. He was the first team on first team for at guard in basketball, and he also won Gatorade Player of the Year in basketball and football. And he hurt his knee at North Carolina in a basketball game and never was the same again. But he got off into coaching. And the Saints actually made him the QB coach, and him and Winston have a great relationship. So we'll see how that turns out too. But that's the whisperer now who's in his ears telling him to calm down. Because I'm the type of person that I'm going to go by your body of work instead of one outlier. The outlier was the year when he was with the Bucs. He threw for 5,000 yards, 30 interceptions, 30 touchdowns. If you look to prior to that, Winston never had a problem with turnovers. I mean, he was a Heisman Trophy winner, national champion, number 1 pick, that type of player. And he's one of those quarterbacks who's never been a bust. No one's ever said, oh, man, I can't believe Jameis Winston went number 1. He looks the part. If he does what he's supposed to do and he's used to winning, man, I think that the Saints will be okay.
All right, let's check in with the chat real quick. What's up to our guy, Richie Smalls? Haven't seen you for a while. He wanted to throw out that he thinks the Chargers will be the Super Bowl champs. I guess this will be for you, 5-star. This is our guy, Matt, Mr. New to Town, a.k.a. Twatty Latte. He says, Jameis throws too many interceptions, fumbles too much, and takes too many sacks. Isn't that the 3 worst things you can do as a quarterback? What do you think?
But he had 3 interceptions last year.
Before he answers that question, just know our guy, Matt, is a big non-Jameis Winston guy.
He's not a big Michael Thomas guy either.
That's okay. Because I see he has Mr. Newtown. What is he, a Panthers fan?
No, he's a Steelers fan.
Oh, Steelers fan. Okay. He's going to have to worry about turnovers himself with Trubisky over there. I worry about Trubisky turning the ball over a little bit more than Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
And fumbles. Oh, my God. We don't want to talk about Trubisky and these fumbles in the pocket. We saw him in Chicago.
All right, and then we got our guy Mikey Jersey 007. He doesn't believe that there could have been a good athlete that was born before the year 2000. He thinks that human evolution just greatly, just exponentially increased in the last 20 years, and that Wilt Chamberlain and Walter Payton and Joe Montana and these guys they couldn't play. He doesn't think it's the rule changes at all.
They
the
would have
reason
been
why all these
sicker. You
stats
know
are
why they would have
coming
been
in.
sicker, Spread? They would
Oh,
have been
because
sicker
these
because they
rules.
wouldn't have been eating Twinkies and McDonald's and
Yeah.
smoking
So,
cigarettes.
like
But
Lynn Dawson and Super Bowl III smoking cigarettes
yeah,
at
these
halftime.
guys had no
Yeah.
nutrition, no weight plan, none of these benefits that
Yeah.
these athletes have now. Weight programs, those guys would have been. Come
And
on,
they
man, it would have
played
been
more
lights
games
out.
too. These guys sit out all the time compared to those guys. Robert Gall says the Saints win total is 8.5. Assume 5-star loves the over. Yes, he does. Richie thinks the Saints offense will be more explosive this year. I mean, it's hard to argue that, right?
Yeah.
So Richie also asks, is Kamara facing suspension this year for his court case or no?
I'm hearing
And
0
Jason
games.
said, yeah.
I'm hearing if anything, it'll be next year he deals with a suspension.
Yeah, so Jason Graham's saying 95%. And with that thing, the video is already out there. There's not a lot of new information that's going to come to light. And
I was there that night. I didn't see them fighting, but we just was leaving Dre's. I'm surprised I didn't take you over this. Matter of fact, I was going to take you over the Spread. I think you went in. Dre's is like an after hours over at Cromwell that everybody goes to it, late after the club or something like that. Or sometimes people just come out late. Vegas is a nice city. He just got in an incident with an idiot over there at Cromwell's, disrespected one of the girls that was with him, and you know how that goes, man. I think
people try and make their name off it. It's a one-time incident. This isn't like
wasn't that the night of the Pro Bowl also? So he was all worked up because they had him playing in that game. Yeah. Everyone's talking shit. So
yeah,
just took one guy at the bar saying the wrong thing, and he beat the hell out of him.
And then he touched the girl or something. That's what really kicked it off. The dude touched the girl on the elevator.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. It seems like we were similar on the Bucs, but you got both sides of the story there on the Saints, depending on which way you want to go. Another team, maybe we might get both sides of the story on. I think I might be the dissenting one here because Carolina Panthers, they grabbed Baker Mayfield and Tyler, right? That was kind of one of my running things last year was running down Baker Mayfield. But I was doing that in the context of him being a max quarterback, a guy that you give a significant portion of your salary cap to. I don't necessarily think he's that bad. I just didn't think he was good enough to warrant that type of thing. Now he's not making that type of money for the Panthers, and because of attitude issues, this might be his last chance as a starter, which is crazy since he was a number 1 overall pick so recently. But boy, when people don't want to work with you and you get that reputation, it's really hard to shake, especially in the NFL where there's only 32 of these jobs. It's not like being a cornerback or a wide receiver, right? Where, there's so many of them, right? To be the starter, to be the man, to be the face of the franchise. So this is Baker's last shot. Maybe Matt Rule's last shot too. The results have not been good under Matt Rule, who did such a great job and was like, the coveted coaching prospect when he came out and was hired by the Carolina Panthers. I think the only argument you could say is that it's really hard to win in today's NFL with these rule changes, or as Mikey would say, genetic advancements. But it's really hard to do it without the quarterback play. So he hasn't had a quarterback yet, and we'll see what he's doing. And I don't know if he solved that problem. I think this might be the best one that he has had so far. They had Cam and Sam Darnold last year. Didn't turn out to be good. This is a great chance for Baker. Some interesting skill positions. The defense does seem to be better. And then there's the continuous question around McCaffrey. And I noticed 5-star, you had Kamara ahead of him. And I think that most, people who do fantasy football don't. But I'll tell you what, I think Kamara's got a better chance of playing more snaps this year. He seems a little more durable at this point. Tyler, though, let's start with you. Carolina Panthers, what are your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, man. I mean, we talked about Chicago being a bad team spread. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be right down there with them. I mean, this offensive line, they did get
They have a little better roster than Chicago, though, right? I mean, Chicago's got the worst line in the league and the worst skill positions.
They
got better wide
weapons.
Receivers.
They have the better weapons. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, they're not a deep team at all. Chicago's not either, but this Carolina team, they lost CMC last year. You've seen their offense come to a halt. They lose him again this year, which is very possible with how much they pelt him with the ball in the running game and the passing game. Mm-hmm. Their offense probably loses a step again. Their defense also, they get J.C. Horn back, but they lose Riddick and Gilmore, which Gilmore was still a solid cornerback. They draft the one guy on the offensive line in the first round. They drafted a few guys on defense in the later rounds. But a couple injuries to this team spread, and you're going to see gaping holes in this defense and offense. They drafted Matt Carroll also, so they have a third quarterback in that rotation. to where I think if this season goes down the drain quick, they're going to put him out there over Baker to see what they have in him, because you don't want to go draft another quarterback not knowing what you have in your rookie. So I think he sees some playing time towards the end of the year. And you would think they placed first in their division with the way the schedule's lined up. Like, they got this team running a gauntlet. They go week 1, Cleveland. Even though they're not going to have a quarterback, it'll be Brissett. They probably lose that game because Cleveland's defense is just so good. At the Giants, they probably pick up their 1 win right there. But then New Orleans, Arizona, San Francisco, the Rams, Tampa Bay, they're going to lose all those games. Did they pick up the win at Atlanta? I don't think so. I think Atlanta beats them. Then they go to Cincinnati. That's another loss. They come home to play Atlanta. We'll give them a split there. So they split with Atlanta. But then Baltimore, Denver before the bye week. Those are 2 more losses. Seattle out of the bye. There's a win. And then Pittsburgh, Detroit, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. I'm pretty high on Detroit. I think they lose all 4 of those games. Unless they pull an upset against, say, a Pittsburgh, Arizona, San Francisco, or New Orleans, I think the only winnable games on their schedule, the Giants, Atlanta, Seattle, and maybe they sneak at Detroit win if Detroit isn't as good as I think they will be. So that's 6.5 on their win total. I'm definitely going under there.
All right, so you're down on Baker. You're down. So we switch spots from this year, right? And maybe it just has to do with the perceived value. And my argument against, because you loved the Browns last year, right? And that was my argument kind of against that team, and the idea that if they did well, they were going to be forced into overpaying him, which I thought would have been a disaster. They avoided that for sure.
It all paid off in the end. They paid the quarterback that's now suspended 11 games.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, for that week 1 matchup, because it's only 11 games and not the full season, I think Cleveland's way less likely to trade for Jimmy G now, and I would have loved to see Jimmy G behind that offense. I would have loved Cleveland in that spot there.
They say reports are Jimmy G might be Jared Goff's backup here soon.
That would be weird. Did you do one of those bets where you do the first win though? Because it sounds like you're really down on this team. Do you have like the weeks? Like, what was the week you liked?
It would definitely be that week 2 versus the Jets. Or not the Jets, the Giants. Here, I'll get that pulled up now. See what odds we're getting that at.
All right. While you do that, 5-star, what do you think of the Panthers?
Not much. Not much at all. I've been a detractor of Baker Mayfield since the moment he was drafted. Baker Mayfield was a 3rd-round quarterback. He never should have went in the 1st round. He's a perfect example of all you have to do is the people you know. It's not about what your talent is. If certain situations, if you can get an employer to like you, they can hire you into positions that you're not prepared for. We see it all the time happen in corporate America, and it's one of those situations where the owner just liked Baker. The Cowboys almost made the same mistake, but what I'm hearing is Stephen Jones was said he was going to put his dad in the old folks' home and leave him in a nursing home forever if he drafted Johnny Manziel. He almost did the same exact thing, but luckily for Cowboys fans, they haven't fell to the depths of Cleveland's disgrace because of they were able to hold off on Johnny Manziel and the hype from college. Baker Mayfield is a very average athlete. Great college quarterback, one of the best we've seen that came through the Big 12. He played his tail off, big wins. The stuff he did, like planting that flag at Ohio State, if other quarterbacks would have did, we would have heard a whole different agenda from the media about it. He had signs early, and I got to give props to Colin Cowherd because he was in the same segment as me about him from the day one, that he was not the guy. And I'll be interested to see what happens with Baker after this season. If he sticks around the league as a backup, if he's able to humble himself. They say he's great at the whiteboard and stuff like that, and become a good backup in the league, and kind of fall into who I comped him to, Case Keenum. I've always comped him to Case Keenum, and that's the role that Case Keenum has found in the NFL. It's no way that I'm betting over 6 games on them. I actually can get a sweeter number. It's under 6 plus 130 at Caesars William Hill here in Vegas. I think I'm going to play that as soon as we get off this call. But yeah, Baker, I'm not high on him, and with him leading your organization, and Matt Rule never wanted him. That was a move from up top. I think they're going to have a terrible year. I don't think that those two are going to see eye to eye as Baker play continues to fall off and look worse and worse because he doesn't stay in the pocket. They're not going to be able to protect him, so he's going to do the same thing he always does that all defensive coordinators know: roll to the right. He's slow as molasses. It's going to end up being turnovers. Man, I remember I don't know if you remember this or not, Spread. I had a huge argument with a guy that was a Cleveland fan about Baker when Kyler got drafted or was about to be drafted. I told him Kyler would have a way better career than Baker Mayfield. He was a much better player. And do you know him and his guys just came at him, like 20 of them, like, you crazy? Baker, he showed Kyler everything he knew at OU. And I'm like, dude, Kyler is the best player to ever come through Texas football. He has elite speed. He has an elite arm. He's one of the few players at his size that can actually play in the NFL. Baker does not have that extra juice that's needed to play in the NFL. They did not want to hear me. But now I'm sure those guys are somewhere talking a lot of noise about Baker because they were Browns fans. They was, drinking the Mayfield Kool-Aid at the time. So I'm sure they make an excuse for Deshaun Watson today somewhere. But, I don't think much of the Panthers. Unfortunately for the NFC South, man, they have probably the toughest draw this year. They got the NFC West and the AFC North. That's what they have to play on their schedule. Those are the two divisions you do not want to play. So that's why everyone is going to have a difficult time, not only in division with the NFC South, but when they step out of their division, they're playing probably the two other best divisions in the in the whole NFL.
Yeah, I mean, hard to argue there. I do like the AFC West, but the NFC West, I think AFC West might put up more points on you. NFC West is going to put more of a hurting on your body, right?
Yeah.
Even if Seattle isn't good this year, you're going to feel that game after you leave. Even if you win like 28-3, it's going to be like playing the Ravens. They're going to be another tough team that hits hard, especially with all the young talent they've got in there. Richie Smalls agrees with you guys. He says when it's all said and done, Baker was a walk-on that overperformed. I mean, that might be one of the
perfect
greatest overperformances of all time.
Richie. Yep.
Yeah.
Great assessment.
So,
he didn't do it. He just sold himself good at the interview. It's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? He didn't ask to go number one.
I was higher on the Panthers than you guys. And I don't know. I guess I just thought that he might have some chance of getting it done. They should be good with McCaffrey. In the end, to me, it's going to come down to this defense. If they can at least be average, I think they'll give them a shot. Last year they put Darnold in so many bad situations, and Darnold put the defense in so many bad situations. Darnold only converted on 35.7% of third downs last year, so they were on off the field real quick, and that can make it. Playing 35 minutes is a lot harder than playing 28 minutes of defense, right? And it can really skew your stats and just the overall feeling of the football team. But hey, I'm not running to bet on the Panthers. I was just saying, hey, I don't want to completely overlook this team. But you guys are down on them. What do you think that means for Matt Rule? Tyler, let's say you're correct. This team does terribly. Is Matt Rule still the coach through the season? And will he be the coach next year if they go under this win total like you predict?
I'm going to go no. I think he makes it the full season, though.
Okay.
I think they don't fire him mid-season. I think they let him play it out, and then at the end of the year, they give him the boot.
What do you think, 5-star Matt Rule gonna survive this debacle this year? If you guys are correct,
no, he'll get his money at the end of the year. I agree with Tyler. I think that him and the owner are tight enough that the owner's going to say, like, man, I saw your vision. We tried. We put the coordinator in place for you and thought that was going to change everything. We thought that we could get the quarterback. They did everything they could to get the right quarterback. Unfortunately, it never worked out for them. I know they're probably glad they ended up that they didn't, get Watson. They were really trying to get him, like doing everything to get him at one time because they wouldn't have lost him for 11 games. But that probably would have saved Matt Rule's job because now he has an excuse to go another year and say, well, hey, I never got a chance to, get my quarterback in there. But Rule's a good coach, though. He'll be somewhere rebuilding some college in the next couple of years and do a great job back again in college football. And I'll be back betting with him when he's coaching college football.
I mean, can you believe that, though, if you're Matt Rule? Because if what you guys are saying is true, they've got one, and I know you're not as high on the class as some of these other guys, but I've heard other scouts say that there might be 6 first-rounders in the quarterback class this year. 6 guys that go in the first round. if they're as bad as you say, you're going to get one of those guys.
But which one of those guys could instantly turn over Carolina right now? None of them, man.
I'm
I'm
just
telling you,
saying
like
you would
even
get a chance
Bryce
to
and
build.
the Ohio State
Bryce is
quarterback.
probably the best shot at turning that team
Yeah,
around.
and he's still going to need a couple years to adjust because we have to see, similar to Tua, how is his athleticism going to transition to the NFL. Some of these guys look one way in the in college, they get to the pros, you're like, oh yeah, this guy fits it. Then sometimes you're like, hey, because him and CJ out of Ohio State, the quarterback there, they're both guys who are not that big. They're not all this fast. They're not all, so they have to beat you from being just lights out from the pocket. And we're going to see how they can handle that NFL pocket because it's a different game in NFL than college. So I don't know about, they might be highly rated, but I don't think any of those quarterbacks can instantly, like Justin Herbert, just now they come in and now you're like, oh, whoa,
Oh,
wait,
he went
we
to a
got
pretty good team too, right? I
yeah,
mean,
Yeah,
exactly.
every single year they're the most talented team in football, and we'll get to that next week, Tyler, right? Because
yeah,
the results,
and the
even
guys
though
we're talking about right now, 5-star, I think they're looking at this team and the next team we're going to talk about. I think both of them guys want to end up on the next team we're going to talk about instead of this one.
Yeah, they want to be with the Falcons. The Falcons have a good, I agree. They
let's
have
go
a good
straight
foundation.
to the Falcons and 5-star. Break down the Falcons.
But I like a lot. I like their coach. They have a good head coach. He's very sharp. Runs some innovative plays. He knows how to get the running game going. He didn't have a lot to work with last year, and he still was able to take a receiver and make him one of the best backs in the league. So I think he knows what he's doing, man. Mariota is going to surprise people. I think he's going to have a decent season. Now the thing is, can he stay healthy? That's the thing for him. Can he stay healthy? That's always going to be the thing for Mariota because he was another guy who was highly touted coming out of college. We never really got a chance to see what he could do because he's always had the injury bugs of Tennessee. They made the playoffs. Remember, they played the New England and gave him hell. They gave him a great game, and he was the quarterback, and he was the driving force. He was doing all types of stuff, running the ball, throwing the ball. He can play, man. It's just all about what he has around him, and he doesn't have much around him. Like most teams that are struggling, the problem is the roster. They're not good on the offensive line. So as long as you're not good on the offensive line, you can't win in football. But I think they're going to surprise some people. I'd actually think that they're going to have a better year than Carolina is.
Okay. And, there's a couple reasons for that. So Mariota, we love him out here on the West Coast. Came out of Oregon. We thought he was going to be great. And this idea, this kid, we talked about Baker Mayfield and this being his last chance. Mariota's a guy that's going to be in the NFL for until he doesn't want to, because everybody who's been around him loves him. He's got a great work ethic. He's a great teammate. No ego. I mean, everything that you want in the leader of your franchise. He didn't get a chance to show it in Tennessee. They loved him in Las Vegas. You mentioned it, though, 5-star. Even in these relief spots there for Derek Carr, he was getting hurt. He was coming in. And to be fair, they were designed run plays, and there's reason we don't run $40 million quarterbacks that often, right? Because every single linebacker, every single guy that makes a tackle in the NFL is just, one of the biggest, strongest, fastest men in the world. So of course it's tough, but wasn't even able to stay healthy in that regard. Now he gets a chance here with Atlanta, or it will be first round pick Desmond Ritter.
I like him. I won't be surprised if he
Where
starts.
Did he go to school again?
Cincinnati.
We've been on them a lot. Yeah.
Preseason, don't get me wrong. Everyone's like, oh, it's the preseason. It doesn't really matter. But what I'm looking at for a quarterback, and as Spread, I coach quarterbacks they're children, but it's still at the end of the day, you understand the craft of it. You understand the mechanics. You understand the type of moxie and the type of mentality that you have to have. And I coached quarterbacks for like 7 years, in Little League and kids like 15 to 18. And what I like a lot about him, Desmond Ritter, was when in the preseason game that I saw in the biggest moments of the game, he was not afraid and he was making plays. And that means something. Same with the kid Sam Howell for Washington. He impressed me too. How's your pulse? If you're not afraid, you're attacking, you're playing ball, then I really think that you have an opportunity because the game's going to slow down as you get more and more snaps, more and more reps. It's about, are you afraid? Can you deal with the pressure of being in the NFL? And I liked what I saw out of Desmond Ritter, man. I won't be surprised if he's starting by mid-season for them, either because of Mariota injury or simply because they're not winning, and then Arthur Smith says, hey, we're going to go on and ride with the young guy, see what he can do.
Drake London, real quick, 5-star, and then we'll go to Tyler. But Drake London, another one that, because, I don't watch as much college as you. Pretty highly touted coming out of the draft. You put him next to Kyle Pitts. It seems like they've refurbished these weapons, right? Remember, it was Ridley and Julio Jones a couple years ago, and the Falcons were fantasy darlings, whether or not they were winning or not. Seems like they got a couple great pass catchers there. Talk to us real quick about Drake London and how you think he'll line up next to Kyle Pitts. And even if you want, maybe if you think Kyle Pitts will do better this year, because I know I had him in fantasy, and while you could see the talent on the field, the numerical production wasn't there from Pitts.
Matt Ryan didn't give him a lot of looks last year. He was open a lot, and Matt Ryan was going outside to his receivers and wasn't giving Pitts a lot of play. And it's just probably because he hasn't had a tight end he trusted since probably Tony Gonzalez. And you know how that is. Quarterbacks are about their stats too. They don't want to throw interceptions because they don't know if this guy's going to be where he's supposed to be at. I think that's what he suffered from. But I think it's going to be a lot more plays that are designed for him, as later on in the year you saw Arthur Smith start designing more plays that was strictly for him, where he wasn't just an option on the route, that was strictly to get him the ball, and he's going to benefit from that. Drake London, great body control, ex-basketball player, really attacks the ball up high. I'll be interested to see how fast he is in the league, how his speed compares with some of these guys with this 4.2 speed that's playing DBs, be able to blanket him and give him problems. But as far as in body control, strength, he's not as quick as Julio, because him and Julio have the same size, but Julio has that quickness like a small player, even though he had that size. He isn't quick like that, but he's more of a ball control guy, like another USC guy, like what's my guy name? Used to play with the Jets, man. That's on TV now. What's the guy's name? He plays just like him. He hosts on ESPN now.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Give me the damn ball.
Oh, Keyshawn Johnson.
Keyshawn. I'm sorry, guys.
I wanted to say Chris Carter, but I knew I was wrong.
Yeah. They're all still the same little group.
No, actually, for a guy like me that, hasn't watched, that's a perfect one, because he was never the best athlete.
Yeah.
Corners were never afraid of him. He still put up 12 catches every week. It felt like, right?
That ability. If he's getting thrown the ball by an accurate passer, he would do really well, like with but who wouldn't with a Brady or Rodgers. But what I'm saying is he's really good with making contested catches.
Yeah. Okay. And that's going to be fantastic. We'll see how they go up. Tyler, I'm kind of going on this same theme. Dude, these low win totals are always so tempting to me, because it's the NFL, and I know when we do the schedule, right, we basically go off who the books are favored, right? So when you went through the 17 games on the Panthers, you kind of gave them credit for the 3 or 4, which we think the books will favor them. But see, here's the thing: we know there's going to be upsets, right? I mean, there's a reason why everyone I know that just parlays every single favorite, they're still working, right? They're not they haven't quit their job yet, right? Because every week there's crazy upsets, right? The Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills last year, right? 3 weeks later, Buffalo Bills are going toe-to-toe with Kansas City in one of the greatest football games that we've ever watched as fans, right? So we know there's wild results here. This Falcon totals over 4.5, -125 on Bet Online, the under 4.5, -105. When I see these over 4.5s, I like to go over, because they get like a hot streak here, and a 3-win streak, 2 upsets, and maybe they win the one game that they're favored. Now you're feeling pretty good about this bet. What are your thoughts on the Falcons and the team total here?
Yeah, I'm going to lean over here on that 4.5, and I'm not sure we're even going to need an upset to get over that 4.5 spread when you look at this schedule.
Okay.
I mean, we'll go through the entire schedule, but the games I picked out that I think they win: Seattle, they beat Carolina at least once, maybe sweep them. They'll beat Chicago, they'll beat Washington, and maybe they steal a Saints game, but there's some games on this schedule I definitely think they win. That San Francisco game could also be very weird, because we're not sure what Trey Lance could be yet. If that offense isn't revving, like, this Atlanta team could stick right with them and steal that game from them. So I'd watch out for that. They won all the games they were supposed to last year too. Like, when you look at their schedule, they beat the Giants, they beat the Jets, they beat Miami in Tua's first game back.
I mean, they won 7 games last year.
Yeah, they beat Jacksonville, Carolina, and Detroit. So those are all teams they should have beat. The only real team that they beat was the Saints. And I'm not sure Jameis was the quarterback at that time. I didn't go back and look. I don't think he was. Okay, he wasn't?
No.
Okay, so yeah, they didn't even beat a real Saints team. They beat a patched together Saints team. The swapping out Matt Ryan for Mariota and Ritter, I think is going to work out a little better for them with the bad offensive line they have because Matt Ryan's a statue. You've seen it last year when they blitzed him. He couldn't go anywhere, so he's got sacked. Both of these guys have legs on them. They can run away from the pocket and make plays outside of it. But I still think this team has a possibility of picking top 5 this year. I really hope they land a guy like Bryce Young. I'm going to stay away from CJ Stroud. We know where I stand on Ohio State quarterback spread. I just don't think they make it in the NFL. And I just think his team's definitely building for the future, and they have the pieces, like the key foundation pieces to start building. But the bet I found for them spread,
I was about to ask
the first
you, what
win.
Do you got?
They play Seattle week 3, plus 350. It'd be their first win against Seattle. I'm all over that because I don't think they beat the Saints week 1, and I don't think there's a chance in hell they beat the Rams week 2.
Yeah. Especially with the Rams coming off losing to Buffalo.
Yep.
That'll also be 10 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll have a 10-day break for that game.
Yeah, so there'll be a rested Rams team. They'll have a little more time to prepare. 5-star, anything more on the Falcons there? Seems like we all like the over here on this. Not that we're really that high on the team. They could go over this total and, like you said, still pick top 5, Tyler, right? I mean, this new league is designed for parity. The salary cap is there. And boy, it must be frustrating.
They won 7 games, and would they pick London out last year? 6th?
Yeah.
So
because parity's alive and well. A lot of these guys get cut or getting cut for guys that are technically worse than them. Just they make $2 million, the other guy makes 200,000.
That's it. That's it.
So
they're the only team with a running back with number 84. Their starting tailback is number 80.
He's playing running back, wide receiver. They tried to put him in at safety last year. Like,
do you think he'll have the same production?
Yeah, I think so. He's going to concentrate at running back. He's a good player, man. He can play.
Yeah, I think he finally found like that perfect spot for him to play. Because for the longest time, teams were like, we're just going to take him. He's a gadget player. We'll figure him out on the fly. No one could ever figure out how to use him. I think Atlanta finally figured it out.
And with so many teams running the hybrid of the West Coast offense, right, where Bill Walsh, was the first one to say, hey, a 2-yard pass is the same as handing the ball off.
Yeah,
my linemen are still moving forward, and I still have the ball in the hands of a playmaker and a low turnover way to get him the ball. It just seems natural that a guy that used to be a wide receiver could be a great player out of the backfield.
Atlanta should just embrace this like fully positionless football and just start running plays with Ritter and Mariota on the field. Like have Mariota go out there and run a slant. See if he can get some separation. Ritter hits him in the pass.
Can you imagine how many, if he played wide receiver, he'd make like 7 plays.
Oh, could you imagine everybody flocking to him in like a fantasy football league if he starts catching passes too?
All right. So there you have it. The NFC South, 5 stars high on the Saints. And I'm happy about that 5-star because I felt, I've had a great time doing these previews. I felt we've given out good information in a quick manner. My main lament to Tyler and JJ when we were talking about it is that because we're analyzing these teams at full strength and we're not doing the week to week of the injury report, the schedule, right, momentum, things that we've seen, a lot of these previews can really sound rather similar. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not going to come on here and lie to you just to be different than the other 3 podcasts I just listened to, right? If I believe they're right, I'm going to go ahead and pretty much be on that same thing. But with you taking the Saints there, we've really taken a stand, and I'm happy about that. So you like the Saints there to go ahead and win the division. What else you got for us on the NFC South if you want to just sum this division up overall?
Like I said, they got a tough draw with them. The conferences that they play, as everyone knows with the schedule, they assign 2 conferences that you have to play each year, and a lot of these Southern teams are going to be doing some traveling to the AFC North, after October, and that's going to be tough. So they got a tough schedule outside the conference, and already a very competitive conference that's always very hard each week when they play each other for years. They've always competed hard with each other. You can usually take the points almost in all the games, just rarely blowouts. in this NFC South between the teams. Even though you might have the Panthers and Falcons struggle with their record, they always still compete very hard against the Saints and the Bucs in those games. But as I said, I just think the Saints are a little bit too much. They already had one of the smartest defenses in the game with Demario Davis as the lead guy. Now you put behind him Honey Badger with all of his, acumen and how smart he is and the way he knows how to set up quarterbacks and get the defense in the right position. I just really think, at least for this season, that's going to be a tough defense to deal with. You got C.J. Gardner-Johnson who's trying to get a check. He wants to get paid. He's the best slot corner in the league and he plays for them too. I just really like everything that I'm seeing from the team as far as it being an all-around team. But as you said, everything's always based on injuries as long as they stay healthy. Taysom Hill, they're going to keep using him as gadgets, but he's going to focus on playing some tight end and catch some plays, getting out in the seam and stuff like that. And I think he'll do well with that because he's one of those guys who doesn't care about getting blown up. So he'll definitely be making some catches over the middle for them. And I really think Jameis Winston continues what he started last year with rebuilding his brand, rebuilding his name, and being able to execute. He has a sound franchise around him. The whole city's behind him. He's coming from off an injury, so that gave him time to also process more things mentally, sitting out and being on the sidelines and watching what was going on. And as you guys know, James is a really good guy. He speaks to the kids all the time. He speaks to his teammates. Everybody who ever meets him loves him. He's just like this lovable character, So I think the team is going to respond well to his leadership, and he'll be leading the team with other veterans like Michael Thomas and Demario Davis and Honey Badger, Jarvis Landry, So I would just like a lot of what I've seen from the Saints, and the thing that really puts me over the edge on taking them for the plus 300 is their recent success. They feel like they own this division. They've won it, like I said, 4 of the last 5 years. The Bucs did win it last year, but I would have taken the Bucs last year before the year started to win it because they were a different team coming in as the Super Bowl champs than they are this year. I just don't like what they've done with their line. I don't think they're going to be protecting Brady enough, especially with Jensen going down the center. They're going to hurt from that, and I just don't know what I'm going to get from the defense. And the team overall, now the Todd Bowles has to concentrate on more than just being the defensive coach, because even though Brady's running the offense, he can't be the one to call the timeouts. He can't be the one that, decides to, get on the set and say, like, hey, man, it's 4 minutes, let's run the ball. Any of that. That all comes down to Todd Bowles, and I'll be interested to see if he can adjust from what he did with the Jets, but I'll be on the Saints plus 300, just too much of a good number.
Tyler, everyone's almost getting ready for their fantasy drafts. In the first round, who would you rather have, Kamara or Christian McCaffrey out of this division?
I'm going to agree with you here. Give me Kamara. Because I just have this feeling that CMC is going down again at some point this year. Will it be for 3 weeks? Will it be for 8? Or is he just going to be right instantly season-ending IR? I don't know what it's going to be, but I just have a feeling he'll be hurt. I ain't touching the big guy out of Tennessee because I think Henry's going to get hurt again. So, yeah, I think Kamara is going to be that guy.
So, me and a lot of other people were disappointed by Pitt's production last year. Tyler, do you think he bounces back?
I think he does, but I'm not sure how much this year because their offense, I think, is going to be a little more run-heavy. Even the quarterbacks are going to run the ball more. I'm not sure he gets the targets to improve much more than what he did last year. Maybe he scores some more touchdowns because he only did score 1.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he scores some more.
I think his yards may come in right around the same.
He should have a game where he scores more touchdowns than last year, right? If he really wants to break out. 5-star, thank you for joining us. We brought you on, because you've been rooting for the Saints all your life, and I feel like even for me, I don't need to do Raiders prep. I follow them all year, so it's just a lot of fun when people really know their team. Of course, you and I do the wagering world, but let them know about that show and everything else you got going on.
Okay, yeah, me and my guy Spread, we do the wagering world. We're going to be on after football season begins on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Right now, we've been in and out just with different things, preparing for the season and getting everything ready. But we will be letting you guys know on Twitter each time that we are dropping the show. But the regular schedule will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting after next weekend when we kick off college football. Look forward to week 0. We got that coming, and we're going to also be having a guest. One of the top sports directors in the city of Las Vegas will be joining us every Wednesday. So we're going to start having that going. And then, of course, me and you always giving them the ball and parlays and winners on the wagering world. So I look forward to doing that. I look forward to working with you more too, Tyler, as the season progresses, man. You're very sharp and you know a lot of your stuff, man. I like it.
All right, give him that Twitter handle.
At 5 Star in Vegas, as you see up on there, man, right here.
Spell out the 5. I always say that, even when someone
spell out
says
the
spell out
5.
the 5.
Yeah, just spell out the 5, man. And like I said, I'm sure I'll be back with you guys sometime during the season.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. Tyler, was there any bets that you placed for this division that I didn't go over?
The ones I did place, I'll just reread them. I took Atlanta's first win, and that's on DraftKings to be Seattle at plus 350. I took the Saints over their division win total on DraftKings, also over 3.5 at plus 125. Okay. I put a small sprinkle on Ritter at 25-1 to win Rookie of the Year, because if he does get in early enough and does look good, there's a path for him to steal that award. And then I put some on Carolina to have the fewest wins at 16-1, because that schedule's tough, and I think they could be at the bottom of the barrel with a team like Chicago spread.
All right, I think you have a couple safe bets that I really like that I go big on, and then a couple sprinkles there, right? Where, hey, you know, you might not put very much money, but you know, it could be a great weekend in Tahoe or Vegas if that hits. So
that in conference 3.5 is the bet. That's a great bet.
Yeah,
Tyler.
I think when I was thinking of them,
they can get
I didn't even think about
by Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
which likely doesn't happen, and they could still go over that 3.5.
Great bet. That's a great bet. Hey guys, just real quick on this division, as far as fantasy, I see you guys were speaking some fantasy. Surprisingly, I think the best fantasy players are going to be on the Falcons team out the whole division. Michael Thomas is the only other guy that I can see. Olave's not going to get enough usage. He's going to get some big plays, spurts,
and he's going to get overdrafted too.
Yeah,
people are so high on him. He's going to get drafted like
he's going to be either he's going to get you 20 points because he caught a 65-yard touchdown, or he's going to get you 3 points because all he caught was a 10-yard pass, and that's it.
Exactly. So watch the Falcons. They're going to make a lot of noise on fantasy. Cordell Patterson, whoever's the quarterback, because they're going to be down in a lot of games and scrambling to get back. So
they get to play inside at the end of the year.
Yep.
They're not going to be up there in Chicago and Tennessee and Green Bay, you know, just scratching out these run plays trying to end the game. So that always helps too. Yeah, sometimes that people look at why'd you draft that guy so high? And I go, I was looking at his week 15 through 17, right?
And the only NFC team with an offensive coach is the head coach. You guys know that? Yep. Everyone else has defensive coaches, coordinators as coaches.
Good point. And it's funny because the league is going towards offensive coaches in general. Yeah, and I think that's going to be real fun. And I mentioned those parallels between Todd Bowles and Dennis Allen earlier, you know, and you mentioned youth as a factor. But I still think that's something to keep an eye on because the very similar situations for two men that failed to have previous success. But, I mean, these situations that each man is in are 10 times better. Yeah, right. Because that Raiders team was a disaster that he came to. It was an absolute disaster. I think they had a new GM at the time, McKenzie from GM, and he had so much cap space. So that first 2 years, I mean, they were so bad on the cap before he got there, and then the Jets are just the Jets. So nobody's been able to win there since Rex Ryan pulled it off, and you know. He parlayed that into an ESPN gig because it was just such an amazing feat. And we'll see who's going to be able to do it again. But I'm worried that my guy, Robert Saleh, might not have the juice to get it done there. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Like, as Richie says, smash that like. You know, we're doing it. We got 2 more to go, Tyler. We'll be back next week with 2 more special guests, Monday and Friday. I'm on the road this weekend. That's why we came a day early. But, hey, we figured you'd love having this, you know, for your previews for the weekend. We'll be back next week. And then, Tyler, man, it's time to actually just break down these games, which is fun because I think that's where we're going to really get divergent from a lot of the content that's coming out. NFL is the sharpest market in the world, so a lot of these preseason assessments are correct. And it's not like that we can't figure this out. What really makes you great during the season, you know, the scheduling, the injuries, the momentum. You know, what we've seen, overreactions. These are all things that we need to navigate that I think making doing these handicapping shows so much different. So, you know, I know that a lot of the stuff that we say is going to be the same as what you hear, but we do think it's great information, you know, not that us, but that other, you know, prognosticators are putting out, you know, but it's how you navigate that when things change in the middle of the year. How do we treat the Panthers when McCaffrey goes out? What if Jameis Winston goes out? What if Tom Brady's hurt? Who is the backup there, by the way?
Kyle Trask out of Florida last year.
Trask, yeah.
Has he played a snap?
No. If he did, it was meaningless.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, maybe he took a kneel down. Yeah, so I mean, you see something like that. Can you imagine us trying to handicap a week 3 Bucks game with Kyle Trask that we have no tape on, and we're going off preseason tape of him dicing up third stringers? So that's what's fun about betting the NFL, and why that. I mean, even if you crushed it last year, like we crushed it last year, right? 5-star.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still thinking we're gonna have to work even harder this year because it's just so tough to navigate these things. So, of course, we will be doing that at runpuresports.com. For all the insights, head on over to Run Pure Sports. Use that promo code GetBets. Like the video, subscribe
Before
to the
you
channel.
wrap it
What
up,
you
Spread,
got, Tyler?
You said one word that made me think about this. You said preseason.
Yeah.
I got to give him a preseason pick before the end of the video.
Let's hear it.
Kansas City lost to Chicago in week 1 of the preseason.
Okay.
The quarterbacks they're sending out there, yeah, you're going to get Mahomes for a little bit. He threw 7 passes in that game. You're getting Sean Belushi, Drew Crum, and Chad Henne. Well, they play Washington this week.
Okay.
Washington's going to send out Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, and Sam Howell. Kansas City is the same team with Super Bowl aspirations. They're not going to run their guys much of any in this preseason game. Now, I know the report is they could play a whole first half. They did this last year. They said they were going to play a whole first half. They went down, scored a touchdown. We didn't see the starters again the rest of the game. You're going to give me Washington a plus 175 with that quarterback rotation? I'll gladly take a shot on them.
There you have it.
I'll be on Seattle tonight, man. Seattle -3 first half on the Chicago. And we'll do a video a little bit later about this spread and give it out to people.
Why you like Seattle on that one?
Because we watched Chicago last week. Their offense doesn't look too good, man. They came out. I think that Eberflus gave a Newt Rockney speech at halftime, and me and you were glad for a spread because remember we had Chicago. That was just a number bet. I bet that off of just reading the number and saying, okay, the public's going to probably be all over Kansas City because of the name. Let's take the Bears. But I saw more than enough to know that they won't win the first half tonight in Seattle. Seattle's going to be rocking. The fans are going to still treat it. They're the 12th man's going to show up for a preseason game just like it's a regular season game. They'll still be sold out. I expect their offense looked pretty serviceable last week with their quarterbacks. We're either going to get Drew Lock or we'll get the
I think you're getting all Geno Smith this week because Drew Lock has COVID.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's Geno first half. Geno's doing pretty good moving the ball. So I think they'll be able to at least score 10 to 17 points in the first half. I don't expect anything from the Bears, but maybe a touchdown or maybe a field goal because they're really struggling on offense, man. Their line can't block. Seattle's going to be out there going crazy because you know how they are the first game at home. They're one of those type of teams. They're going to be really hyped. Pete Carroll doesn't care that it's a preseason. He's going to have those guys fired up. Their line is going to be all over fields and making them, have to run around and stuff. He's not going to be able to complete any passes. So I really like Seattle -3 first half tonight on the preseason.
And I know Tyler can't argue with fading an Ohio State quarterback. So there you have it. There's 2 preseason winners. You can just roll over those winnings into those division winners they gave you, and let that last all season. Have your bankroll stay at the same exact number. Getting ready for week 1. Thank you for joining us once again. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Hey, give us a retweet, comment on the video, throw me a comment on Twitter. Anything you like, say, hey, you're crazy. Carolina's going to win the Super Bowl. Whatever you guys think, go ahead and let us know. We have so much fun doing these previews. Head on over to runpuresports.com. Promo code GetBets. Run Pure.